try this again. I'll get it eventually. Good afternoon and welcome to the Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, please take roll.
Assemblywoman Backus. Assemblyman Carter.
Present.
Assemblywoman Duran.
Here.
Assemblywoman Hardy.
Here.
Assemblywoman Howdegi. Assemblywoman Kasama.
Here.
Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno. Assemblyman O'Neill.
Here.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager. Assemblyman Urich.
Here.
Chair Marzola.
Here. Please mark Speaker Yeager, Vice Chair Howdegi, and Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno present when they arrive. Before we get started, I want to welcome everyone that's here in Carson City, everyone in Las Vegas, and everyone listening over the internet. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping rules, of course. Please silence all of your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door. For those joining online, please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking to minimize any background noise. When testifying, please turn on your microphone and state your name and affiliation, if any, for the record, then turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If you have handouts for members of the public, please give it to our committee secretary. There will need to be 20 copies given. In addition, exhibits and amendments must be submitted electronically as a PDF file to our committee manager no later than noon on the business day before the meeting. I expect courtesy and respect in our interactions, even if we may not agree. Lastly, some of our committee members will be using their laptops to view amendments, bills, handouts, and other documents. Please do not view that as a sign of disrespect. With that, let's get started. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 78. This measure exempts certain providers of jobs and day training services from licensure as nurses. Welcome, Assemblywoman Brown-May.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. It is such a pleasure to be in front of you this afternoon to have the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 78. For the record, my name is Tracy Brown-May. I am the Assemblywoman that currently represents Assembly District 42 in Clark County, and I appreciate sincerely the opportunity to present this very important issue to you today. Assembly Bill 78 makes important changes to help advance community integration for adults with disabilities. As way of background, nearly 1 in 4 Americans are living with a disability. That's 25% of our population. Most people don't realize the significant number of people that deal with disability every day. For too long, people with disabilities have been denied equitable access to social, educational, and professional opportunities. Community integration provides an opportunity for people with disabilities to achieve an overall healthier life and well-being. Specifically, jobs and day training providers provide essential services to people who have profound disabilities, and they assist people in accessing community. They also help to acquire meaningful skills for work and life and employment. So certain JDT services are currently restricted due to existing law requiring staff to be licensed by the State Board of Nursing to administer medication to individuals who may require it while participating in these programs. So in addition, the certification to provide a JDT service must be acquired from the Division of Public and Behavioral Health, the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Division of Aging and Disability Services, who are here today. Assembly Bill 78 addresses the problem by exempting certified providers of jobs and day training services in our community from obtaining licensure for the State Board of Nursing. So let me simplify this. People who have intellectual and developmental disabilities have access to home and community-based services that are overseen by the Division of Aging and Disability Services here in Nevada. The same group of people are served by supported living arrangement providers and jobs and day training providers. So we're talking about folks who have intellectual and developmental disabilities receiving home and community-based services. When you live in a residential home, a supported living arrangement home, your staff person can be certified through the Division of Aging and Disability Services to provide medication administration. So if you have a seizure disorder and you require seizure medication, your staff at home has the ability to become certified to administer your medication in a home setting. The jobs and day training provider is serving you during your day does not have the same ability to do that. So this provision would allow the jobs and day training provider to certify their staff in the same way to be able to administer your medication during the day. So what's the barrier? If your staff in a jobs and day training center can't be certified to do that, then a nurse must do it. So you must stay in a setting that is center-based, right? A workshop, a day activity program. So you can't go into the community. If your staff are allowed to become certified, then you would be able to go to the movies or bowling or volunteer at Three Square or otherwise contribute in your community because your medication administration would not become a barrier. That is the entire ability of this law. That's what we're trying to accomplish, is to gain access to community for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities currently being served under the Home and Community-Based Services ID waiver by jobs and day training providers. Section 1 of this bill amends the NRS to do just that. So you'll notice that in this bill, there's not a lot of language change. What it does is it adds the Section 11 that is exactly the same as Section 10, which is where people with disabilities are currently being served. So with that, I am happy to answer questions.
Thank you for your presentation. I do have a question, but I'll let the committee ask theirs first. Does anyone have a question? I'll go ahead. My question is the staffer that's trying to be certified to be able to administer certain medications when they're not in a controlled facility, are they vetted the same way that, say, the nurses or whomever is administering the medication in the facility?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. For the record, Tracy Brown May. I'd like to note that we do have several representatives from the Division of Aging and Disability Services here in audience. Jessica Adams and her team are here. If it pleases the Chair, I'd like to invite them up to be able to answer those questions.
Please.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Adams, and I serve as the Deputy Administrator for Aging and Disability Services Division. Chair, thank you for the question. So jobs and day training providers are certified by the Aging and Disability Services Division under Nevada Revised Statute 435.225. And in our regulations that go along with that statute, we do have requirements for things like background checks, trainings, basically all of the same sorts of things that you may see in medical fields, that sort of thing. So they are background checked. You can find the long list of disqualifying offenses in the background checks under Nevada Administrative Code 435.860. It's a pretty extensive list that if any of that comes back as being a positive hit, they cannot work in this field.
Thank you for that. Committee, any questions? Assemblywoman Torres.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation, Assemblywoman. So I'm just wondering if there is any other states that are currently doing this?
Jessica Adams, for the record, Chair, through you to the Assemblywoman. Offhand, I'm not sure if there's other states doing this. What I can tell you is that our supported living arrangement providers have had this exception in statute since 2005. So for nearly 20 years, we've been able to do this on the residential services side.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation. I'll open testimony in support of Assembly Bill 78. If anyone is here in support, I believe we have 4 chairs. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Prusinski, and I'm here representing SNAP, the State of Nevada Association of Providers. SNAP members partner with the State of Nevada's Aging and Disability Services Division to carry out programs such as supported living arrangement services and jobs and day training to adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout the state. We estimate those served through SNAP comprise approximately 80% of the individuals with these disabilities around Nevada. SNAP is in strong support of this bill, AB 78. As the bill describes, supported living arrangement service provider staff are allowed to, once trained by the qualified individual, distribute medication to those served in their facilities. This has been a most efficient and cost-effective system as it prevents the need to have nurses available 24 hours a day to administer medication, since those residing in SLA settings may need this service throughout the day. Conversely, jobs and day training providers do not have this flexibility. This is not only inefficient, but it's costly to the state to have this disparate requirement. There exists the same ability to train staff on medication administration as SLA possesses, so that those served may receive services as they do in the SLA settings. So we want to thank you for allowing SNAP to provide testimony today, and we're in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you so much for your time. For the record, my name is Dylan Keith, Assistant Director of Government Affairs at the Vegas Chamber of Commerce. We are in support of this bill for its increased quality and access to care for all walks of life and everyone who does need it, as well as increasing the pipeline for healthcare providers, which is so desperately needed in this state. We'd like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this bill forward, and we urge your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone in Las Vegas in support of Assembly Bill 78? Broadcast, anyone on the line?
To testify in support of AB 78, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, press star 9 now.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Stephen Cohen for the record. The presenters did such a great job. I'll take the easy way out. Ditto. With that, Madam Chair, thank you, and I yield.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
A caller, please press star 6 to unmute on your end.
V. Cohen is in the assembly. Stephen Cohen for the record. Stephen with a V. Cohen is in the assemblywoman. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you for that. Is there anyone here in Carson City in opposition to Assembly Bill 78? I don't see anyone. Is anyone in Las Vegas in opposition? Broadcast, is anyone on the line in opposition to Assembly Bill 78?
To testify in opposition of AB 78, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, press star 9 now. Chair, we have no callers in opposition.
Thank you. Is anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in the neutral position for Assembly Bill 78? I don't see anyone. Anyone in Las Vegas? Broadcast, anyone on the line to testify in the neutral position?
To testify in neutral for AB 78, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair, we have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Brown May, would you like to give some final remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. We sincerely appreciate your time and consideration of this matter today. I urge your support. Thank you.
I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 78. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 124. Assemblywoman Hardy, I'll give her a few minutes. Assembly Bill 124 revises provisions governing the renewal of a license as an osteopathic physician or physician assistant. Ms. Hardy, when you're ready, or Assemblywoman Hardy, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and members of the Commerce and Labor Committee. I'm Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy. I represent Assembly District 22 in Southern Nevada, which covers several areas of Henderson. I appreciate being here today to present Assembly Bill 124. With me today is Susan Fisher, Senior Vice President from McDonald-Carano, and supposedly Frank DiMaggio, Executive Director of the Nevada State Board of Osteopathic Medicine, is in Las Vegas. Nevada statute requires all licensees of the Board of Osteopathic Medicine to submit proof of completion of statutory required continuing medical education, or CME. NRS 633.471 currently requires the board to audit no less than 1/3 of the applicants for license renewal. The Osteopathic Board has just 4 full-time employees, including the executive director, with 1 employee dedicated to licensing. Auditing 1/3 of the licensee's CMEs is very time-consuming and reveals that its licensees typically have a 98.8 compliance rate. Section 1, subsection 3 of AB 124 revises NRS 633.471 to remove the statutory audit of 1/3 of the licensee CME submittals and adds language allowing the board to determine what percentage of renewal applications should be audited for CME compliance. So now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Fisher and our Mr. DiMaggio in Vegas to go through the bill or answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Go ahead and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for the record, Susan Fisher with McDonald-Carano, representing today the Nevada State Board of Osteopathic Medicine. First, I would like to thank Assemblywoman Hardy for introducing this bill for us. As we look for ways to streamline the licensing process, this is a very easy way for us to be able to streamline the process while still maintaining making sure that we're taking care of good public health and making sure that our physicians are well qualified to represent Nevada patients. And Frank DiMaggio, I believe, is calling in from the office, so he'll be on the phone when that opens up afterward. As Assemblywoman Hardy mentioned, the board operates pretty lean with just 4 full-time employees. And in a sample year on auditing, we had 1 year at the end of 2020, we did have a higher number of non-compliance of the CME requirements, but that's because a lot of the continuing medical education courses were shut down due to COVID. And at the end of 2020, they still hadn't started doing a lot of the online ones yet. Since that time and prior to the start of COVID, as mentioned, we have a really good compliance rate of our physicians. When they send in their renewal applications, they don't send in all of the certificates from all of their CME courses that they've taken over the past year. What they do is they attest to the fact that they've completed all of the CME requirements. So then our board would audit 30%. And we had to do that because, as you can see in the bill, AB 124, the statute required that. This was put into statute in 1999 in checking with the State Board of Medical Examiners, the State Board of Pharmacy. They don't have a similar requirement in their statute. They do audit the CMEs to make sure that their licensees have completed the continuing medical education requirements, but they do it via policy. and the board decides how many they feel that they need to audit. And they typically shoot for about 10%. And we would probably do about the same to stay compliant with the other board members. We're just sort of going overboard on the ones that we're auditing now. And it takes a lot of time for our licensees to pull together all of those certificates and get them into us, and it takes a lot of time for our staff to do it as well. But our compliance rate of 98.8 is pretty good compliance rate, and that's typical over a normal year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Committee members, Assemblywoman Kazama.
Thank you, Chair. I know you and I had visited a little bit about this, and I guess my question was, I come from the real estate background, and we just submit, when we have our license renewal, we have to include the certificate. So there is no audits that go on. It's just immediate. They look at it, see if all those certificates are there, and then they reissue the license. If all those certificates are not there, the license is suspended until you get caught up. And it just seems like a very efficient system. They don't need auditors for it. It's just every time you apply, they look at it, and then you have 100% compliance. Otherwise, your license is suspended. So I was just wondering why perhaps that is not being used.
Susan Fisher, for the record, thank you for your question. I don't know why we don't do it that way, and perhaps Mr. DiMaggio could answer that question for us, but what I understand from the other medical regulatory boards, they don't require the actual certificates either. It's the physicians just attest to the fact that they have completed them.
Any additional questions? Assemblyman Yurick.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I just have a quick question with respect to the percentage that would be audited. Is that going to be or is it proposed to be a random selection for auditing, or is it a selected group for auditing?
Susan Fisher, for the record, thank you, Mr. Yurick, for your question. It would be random. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question, and I'm not sure if you have this answer. Do you have the rate of noncompliance, let's say for 2019, before the pandemic?
For 2019, yes. I have that right here. At year-end 2019, with 2,013 licensees, the licensing specialist was required to hand audit 671 licensees for CME compliance, and that audit revealed a 98.8 compliance rate.
Great, thank you. Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you so much for your presentation. You may not have the answer. We may have to defer to the gentleman on the phone. But for that, 0.2% non-compliance, is that possible? Like maybe they took a course that may not have been recognized, or was it blatant, like a doctor or like completely misrepresenting the CMEs or continue whatever they refer to the like the education that they're taking in this under this board?
Susan Fisher, for the record, thank you for that question, Mrs. Backus. A lot of the time, it's just that they just didn't get all their credits done. And so the board will send them a letter. They'll notify them that they are not in compliance and look to see what it is that they need to take, whether it's in ethics or all of the other ones that are statutorily required. And sometimes they may have just forgotten to take it. They couldn't get the class done in time, and so they have a short window in order to be able to get that completed. And if they don't complete it, then they will get their license suspended until it's completed. Thank you.
Speaker Yeager.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize I was a little bit late for the presentation. The question I had in reading this bill was the language reads now currently that sometimes they request verified evidence, and I just wondered what does verified evidence look like? Like, what does the applicant actually submit when they're audited?
Susan Fisher, for the record, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the question. They actually submit the certificates that they receive when they take the CME credits. I assume it would be the same with continuing legal education as well.
Any additional questions, member? Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to go back to the comments that were made by Assemblywoman Kazama. How difficult would it be just to change the system to get everything at the onset when they apply for the license or apply for renewal of the license? Wouldn't that make it a lot easier on the department as a whole? And do you think that would be a welcomed change?
Thank you for the question. I think I would defer to Mr. DiMaggio on that. But as far as I'm aware, other than the real estate licensing, I don't know if the others do require the actual certificates because they do self-attest. It's just a lot more paperwork that has to be submitted, and all of the boards do have the audit requirement, whether the paperwork is submitted or not, as from what I understand. And I would defer to legal counsel if I'm misstating that. Thank you.
We are trying to find out if Mr. DiMaggio is on the phone line. Broadcasting, is he?
Caller, if you could please raise your hand if you're in attendance. One second, Chair.
Do you know the last 3 digits of his phone number?
I had submitted those to the committee secretary, but I don't have those with me on an email that I had sent, I think.
So maybe he can answer the question offline or submit
Absolutely.
the information to the committee secretary. I appreciate it. Any other questions, committee members? Assemblywoman Kasama.
Just, excuse me, just curious, what is the number of continuing hours of education that are required annually?
That I will have to follow up with you on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Again, if you can submit that to the committee secretary. Thank you. And with that, we will hear testimony in support. If anyone is here in Carson City, again, we have 4 chairs. Everyone can come up at the same time. Please start when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Dylan Keith, Assistant Director of the Vegas Chamber. For the record, we are in support of this measure. We believe that the self-regulation improves quality of care and gives them a reasonable expectation so they can thoroughly go over and ensure that these doctors have the correct licensing and hours per year in an efficient manner. We'd like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward, and thank you so much for your time. We urge your support.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Elliot Mallon, for the record, representing the Nevada Osteopathic Medical Association. We're here in support. We think this will help streamline things, especially with the limited staff. And we want to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward, and ditto to everything else. So thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone in Las Vegas in support to Assembly Bill 124? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is anyone on the phone lines in support of Assembly Bill 124?
To testify in support of AB 124, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, press *9 now.
Good afternoon. This is Frank DiMaggio, Executive Director of the Nevada State Board of Osteopathic Medicine. I'd like to thank Assemblywoman Hardy for agreeing to introduce this bill for us. I would echo what Ms. Fisher has said about the reason for this change to the bill. And in answer to some of the questions that I heard, Even if the physicians and physician assistants sent in the certificates, we still would have to randomly audit a certain number to make sure that all of the CMEs were met. For the osteopathic physicians, it's 35 hours per year. And there are also certain statutorily mandated courses. So our licensing assistant, and we have one of those who does all of these audits by hand, would have to look at each particular certificate and then determine whether it met the particular statutory requirement for one that was statutorily mandated. So this bill would ease that process instead of hand auditing approximately 800 or 900 licenses for one person, that being the licensing person. The board would set that number to be somewhat in line with what the other regulatory boards have. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. And if there are any additional questions, they'll be asked offline. Broadcast, is anyone else on the line in support?
Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 124. Is anyone here in Carson City in opposition? I don't see anyone. Is anyone in Las Vegas in opposition to Assembly Bill 124? Broadcast, is anyone on the line in opposition?
To testify in opposition of AB 124, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in a neutral position on this bill here in Carson City? Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone line?
To testify in neutral of AB 124, please press *9 now. Chair, we have no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Hardy, would you like to give some final remarks?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you again for hearing this bill. And we will be happy to answer any additional questions or provide any more information as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 124. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 163, which revises provisions governing employment. We have Assemblywoman Gonzalez and Serena Evans, Policy Director of the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic Violence and Sexual Violence. You can start when you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. A little nervous, first presentation of the session. Last session was obviously a lot different. Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cecilia Gonzalez, representing beautiful Assembly District 16. And thank you for allowing me to present Assembly Bill 163 for your consideration, which relates to employment leave for victims of sexual assault. Sexual violence profoundly impacts a person's lifelong health, opportunity, and well-being. Sexual violence impacts every community and affects people of all genders, sexual orientations, and ages. It can affect many aspects of a survivor's life, including safety and health to family and work situations. The trauma resulting from sexual violence can impact a survivor's employment in terms of time, requesting off work, job loss, and being unable to work. This can have long-term effects on the economic well-being of survivors and their families. In 2017, the legislature enacted legislation to require Nevada employers to provide leave to employees who are victims of domestic violence or whose families or household members are victims of domestic violence. Assembly Bill 163 would include such leave to employees or whose family or household members are victims of sexual assault. Assembly Bill 163 requires an employer to provide certain hours of leave to an employee who is a victim of sexual assault. Sexual assault is defined in the Nevada Revised Statute 200.366. And now I'm going to walk through the sections of the bill. Section 1 of the bill authorizes an employee who has been employed by the employer for at least 90 days and is a victim of sexual assault, or whose family or household member is a victim of sexual assault, to use leave for certain purposes, such as for diagnoses, care, and treatment, to obtain counseling or assistance, to participate in any court proceedings, and to establish a safety plan for the employee, family, or household members. An employee is not entitled to leave where a family or household member is the victim and the employee is the alleged perpetrator. An eligible employee may take up to 160 hours of leave within 12 months immediately following the date on which the sexual assault occurred. Leave may be paid or unpaid and may be used consecutively or intermittently. Section 2 of the bill prohibits the administrator of the Employment Security Division of the Department of the Employment, Training, and Rehabilitation from denying a person unemployment compensation benefits if the administrator finds the person left employment to protect him or herself or his or her family or his or her family household member from an act that constitutes as sexual violence. Section 3 of the bill require an employer to provide reasonable accommodations for an employee who is a victim of sexual assault or whose family or household member is a victim of sexual assault. And Section 4 of the bill prohibits an employer from conditioning the employment of the employee or prospective employee from taking certain employment actions because the person is a victim of sexual assault, a family member or household member is a victim of sexual assault, and other circumstances related to being a victim of sexual assault. This measure would become effective upon passage and approval for purposes of adopting regulations on January 1st, 2024. And now I will hand it over to Serena to finish the bill presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Serena Evans, and I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. First, I'd like to express my gratitude to Assemblywoman Gonzalez for working on this bill and advocating for victim survivors statewide. Second, I want to thank you, this committee, for allowing us to present this important legislation for your consideration. As the Assemblywoman mentioned, AB 163 builds upon the employee protections established by Senate Bill 361 during the 2017 legislative session. The original bill was and continues to be one of the most comprehensive sets of employee protections for victim survivors. During the passage of the original bill, it was not intentional to leave out victim survivors of sexual assault, but rather because this type of legislation was new, it was not thought of at the time. Nationally, 1 in 6 women and 1 in 33 men have experienced attempted or completed rape. While these numbers are harrowing, they don't include all other forms of sexual violence, which would likely produce a much higher statistic. Each victim survivor's experience in reaction to sexual assault is personal and unique. Some may pursue criminal charges, others seek healing and comfort through counseling, and find solace in working with a victim advocate. There is no right way to respond to sexual assault, but one common truth is that healing takes time and resources. Many of these resources only being available during traditional business hours. Victim survivors of sexual assault are often pushed out of the workforce or penalized for needing to take time off work following an assault. To paint a picture of what the aftermath of an assault might look like, here is a scenario. A victim survivor is assaulted by someone they know in their home. Following the immediate response to their attack, the victim survivor obtains a protection order against their perpetrator and seeks criminal actions. This requires them to work with an advocate to submit a protection order application, meet with law enforcement for investigations, and potentially meet with a district attorney for investigations and court proceedings. Since the assault occurred in their home, they now have to work with an advocate to craft a thought-out safety plan, which may include moving. Additionally, the perpetrator did not use protection during the assault, and so now that victim survivor has to be checked for STIs and HIV routinely. This particular victim survivor also notices that their mental health is severely impacted, and so they seek out a therapist to assist with their healing. This scenario is the reality that many individuals face, and as you can see, it places quite a bit of burden upon the victim survivor and their families. The intent of this bill is to undo some of those burdens and barriers placed upon victim survivors. We routinely hear that victims or individuals cannot take time off of work to deal with these appointments and as such forego these critical services, or they are forced out of their place of work for taking too much time off. Victim survivors should not have to suffer more than they already have. In addition to not further penalizing victim survivors, the Centers for Disease and Control has found that access to economic support is one of the best ways to reduce re-victimization. Maintaining employment is essential for victim survivors to heal and live healthy and stable lives. Aside from taking time off of work, the bill also aims to provide reasonable accommodations for victim survivors of sexual assault and access to unemployment insurance. More often than not, sexual assaults are committed by someone that the victim survivor knows. This means that the perpetrator may know where that victim survivor works and that employers must make reasonable accommodations for their safety of their employees. Unfortunately, sometimes perpetrators are relentless and victim survivors may have to leave their job to protect themselves and their families. They should not have to suffer economic loss and instability due to the actions of another, so allowing victim survivors to qualify for unemployment insurance in these situations is a necessary safety tool. We understand that employers may need help navigating these policies and conversations with their employees, and so I want to draw attention to an excellent resource on this issue. Futures Without Violence offers numerous resources for employers, including sample model policies, which are available free of charge online at their website. Additionally, the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence is here as a resource as well. Many of our systems place blame, shame, and guilt upon victim survivors. By adopting these small yet impactful changes in statute, we have the opportunity to show that we believe victim survivors prioritize their well-being and honor and respect their employment and financial self-sufficiency. While I love this great state, we don't often get to brag that we are leading the way on many things, but by expanding these employee protections to include victim survivors of sexual assault, Nevada will continue to lead the way in providing robust protections and supports for victim survivors. I'm now happy to answer any questions that this committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We will start with Speaker Yeager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assemblywoman, great to see you. Ms. Evans, good to see you as well. So I was reading through the bill, and of course I was here in 2017, although I'd be lying if I told you I remembered everything we did that session. But I noticed there was a provision that the Labor Commissioner has the ability to go and inspect documents. And it just, the question it brought up for me is, do we have any sense, or is there any data around how often the existing law is used? It doesn't look like there's a data collection piece, which of course makes sense given the topics that we're talking about. But perhaps if you can just talk in your experience, is this something that's used a lot? Is it a little bit? Is it somewhere in the middle? And just trying to get a sense of what we might see with the additional sexual assault language added.
Serena Evans for the record. Thank you, Speaker, for the question. I did reach out to the Labor Commissioner to see if they have data on this, because the bill does state that they can collect it. I have not gotten a response yet, but if and when I do, fingers crossed, I'd be happy to follow up. Further, speaking with advocates across the state, I don't think there's an easy way to put a number to it, but I would say that it's probably not used as frequently as we think it is. I would say probably more so in the moderate area. I know a lot of times employees don't know that this exists. It does have to be posted on a bulletin in the workplace, but I think there is still a lot of victim survivors that slip through the cracks and don't necessarily know about these protections.
Any additional questions, committee members? Assemblywoman Hardy.
Thank you, Chair. It's good to see you both, and thank you for bringing this. I, too, have worked with victims and done some legislation to help victims. And as you said, every victim reacts differently, and, they have to overcome or first deal with what happened to them and then decide how they want to deal with that and overcome shame and all of those things. So I appreciate your doing work on this. So just a couple of things, just to clarify what's in the bill. The employee would have to be employed for at least 90 days. And as you said, not more than 160 hours of leave in a 12-month period, correct? So that's not anything different than what's already. And then over in section 2, where it says the administrator may request the person to furnish evidence satisfactory to support the claim. What kind of evidence would you was that they filed a police report or there's a court case, or just kind of, what would you require? Thank you.
Thank you, Serena Evans, for the record. Assemblywoman Hardy, to answer your question, it can be a police report. It can be an application for a protection order. It can be an affidavit either from a counselor, a medical professional, and or a victim advocate that is working with the domestic or sexual violence survivor. Thank you.
Any additional questions? I don't see any. Thank you so much for your presentation. We will open up testimony in support of Assembly Bill 163. If anyone is here in Carson City, please come up. Go ahead and get started when you're ready.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Amber Falgo. I am the Northern Nevada Manager with Battleborn Progress. I am here today to show our support for Assembly Bill 163. As a survivor of sexual assault, I know all too well how time-consuming doctor's appointments, court visits, and therapy appointments can be. This bill helps survivors make sure that they will be able to address the trauma they have experienced without being in fear of losing their employment. Survivors should not have to be concerned about whether they will lose their jobs or whether there will be retribution from their employer for taking time to see a doctor or a therapist or attend a court hearing related to the incident that they have experienced. Thank you, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, for leading this bill and standing up for all survivors of sexual trauma. We urge the committee to pass AB 163. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and the committee. Thank you for hearing this bill today. For the record, my name is Tess Opferman here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby. We are in full support of AB 163. Serena Evans went into detail about the many roadblocks victim survivors face. Some of those roadblocks being needing to access services that are only available during standard working hours, high medical costs and time-consuming doctor's appointments, and lack of mental health care support. We support this bill because we feel like this is a straightforward measure to remove one additional burden, requiring employers to give that time off to their employees so that they can access those appointments that they need to be at. With that, we want to thank Assemblywoman Gonzalez for bringing forward this legislation and thank the committee for hearing this today.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Brianna Escamilla, and I'm here representing Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. We support AB 163 because we believe that these protections and accommodations are essential in ensuring the safety and well-being of survivors of sexual violence. This legislation will allow survivors to maintain employment and or financial security following their assault, which is critical to their ability to move forward. Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada will always stand with survivors and support their needs. We hope you do the same by supporting AB 163. Thank you for your time.
Greg Esposito, representing the Nevada State Pipe Trades. The workers that we represent support this common sense additional language to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in Carson City in support of Assembly Bill 163? Anyone in Las Vegas in support to Assembly Bill 163? I do see someone. Go ahead and start when you're ready. You do have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of this committee. For the record, my name is Sarah Evans, S-A-R-A-E-V-A-N-S, and I'm a board member of Nevada's Chapter for National Organization for Women. I am here in support of AB 163 as this bill extends employee protections to victim survivors and victim employee family members, which includes guardians, so people that have children that have been assaulted can also apply for these protections. During my daytime job, I work at the Department of Family Services, and I see the direct impact that trauma has on families. Having this additional protection is a strong statement that victim survivors matter. that we as all Nevadans care about them and that they will have a safe space to heal. Thank you for supporting AB 163 to help build stronger communities. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in Las Vegas in support of Assembly Bill 163? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the phone?
To testify in support of AB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, that is star 9.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the chair and committee members. My name is J.P. Kemp. I'm appearing on behalf of the Nevada Justice Association. We are in full support of AB 163 and echo the reasons given by Ms. Evans and the others providing testimony in support of this very good bill. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the line, broadcast?
Yes, Chair. 1 second, please. Caller, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Aaron Rook, E-R-I-N-R-O-O-K. I live in Assembly District 3, and I'm here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 163. As a survivor and advocate, I urge you to support Assembly Bill 163 because it would ensure that all victim survivors of intimate violence are able to access reasonable accommodations in the workplace, including time and resources to support their healing and safety. Extending these protections to victim survivors of sexual assault not only provides a direct benefit to impacted employees, but also benefits employers and communities. As someone who has experienced domestic and sexual violence while a member of the workforce, I know how challenging it can be to work while trying to survive and heal from violent abuse. I also know what a difference it makes to have the support of your employer while dealing with intimate violence. In my early 20s, I was in a relationship that became emotionally, physically, and sexually abusive. Living through that cycle of violence took a toll on every aspect of my life, including my work. My former partner liked to start fights when I was trying to leave for work, exerting control by making me late. I also remember going to work one morning particularly exhausted after fending off an attempted sexual assault the night before. While work was the last place I needed to be, I couldn't imagine telling my boss I needed to take the day off to recover from my partner's violence. Instead, when he called during a work training and threatened to harm my pets if I didn't come home immediately, I made up a story on the spot to get out of work. Even after I left that relationship, the abuse followed me. Fortunately, by that point, I had an employer that was open and understanding. When I shared what I was going through, my boss expressed empathy and connected me to resources to support my healing. The state has already recognized that these protections ought to be extended to victim survivors of domestic violence. Adding sexual assault is a logical and necessary next step to ensure that victim survivors of all forms of intimate violence are protected.
Next caller, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Are you here to testify in support of Assembly Bill 163? If so, please go ahead and start.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes.
Yes. Well, good evening to everybody, madam. My name is Henry Thorne, Thorns, Henry. I spelled it backwards. Sorry about that. Well, I'm in favor of AB 163. I'm an injury worker. Have been injured since 1993 on the job. Have been fighting workers' comp ever since. And here's 2023. I'm still fighting workers' comp for treatment, for benefits. And I never experienced anything like this being hurt on the job. I was rear-ended twice on the freeway in a company car. And I have been denied treatment and benefits. So I'm going to support AB 63 because I believe any injured person, anybody got hurt on the job deserve treatment and deserve a better life. Right now, my life has came to a stop because I have been mistreated by workers' comp. And I wish the legislator would investigate workers' comp system because back in the days, workers' comp also did a lot of people's wrong in Las Vegas. And they're doing me wrong here today. So I ask the legislator, please investigate workers' comp because part owner of workers' comp is the person that the lawyer is also a part owner of the insurance company, and that's double dipping. So I support AB 163 for anybody that got hurt on the job or any workplace that someone needs help and benefit. I hope you guys look into this.
Thank you. Next caller.
If you recently joined the call and would like to testify in support of AB 163, please press star 9 now.
Hi, my name is Jim Hoffman. I represent Nevada Attorneys for Criminal Justice. NACJ supports AB 163. We believe that there's an issue with the criminal justice system where it's too reactive. We put a lot of energy and effort into punishing perpetrators after the crime has already happened, after the harm has already been done to the survivor. We believe that the system needs to put greater emphasis on doing the work to help survivors heal from the hurts that they've been caused. AB 163 is a great bill because it's doing that work. It's providing a space for people to heal. NACJ strongly supports this bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, there are no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 163. Is there anyone here in Carson City? Is there anyone in Las Vegas in opposition to Assembly Bill 163? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Chair, we have no callers in opposition of AB 163 at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in a neutral position to Assembly Bill 163 here in Carson City? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in the neutral position of Assembly Bill 163?
Chair, we have no callers in neutral for AB 163 at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Gonzalez, would you like to say final words?
Cecilia Gonzalez, Assembly District 16 for the record. I want to thank Chair Marzola and the committee members today for allowing me to present Assembly Bill 163, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Serena Evans for the record. I will just say ditto, and thank you all very much.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much for presenting today. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 163. I will now open up for public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Public comment may be submitted in writing to committee up to 24 hours after the hearing. For those persons who wish to provide testimony telephonically, please call 669-900-6833. When prompted, please enter the meeting ID 832-520-77259, then press pound. Is anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to give public comment? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Committee members, any last remarks before I close out this meeting? I don't see any. That concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, February 22nd at 1:30 p.m. This meeting's adjourned.